Good evening. Welcome to the Buck Stops here. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program tonight, the Rafale fighter aircraft deal. Has the public exchequer faced an insurmountable loss? That's what the Congress says in signing a deal to procure 36 Rafale aircraft from France for 58,000 crores. Has the Prime Minister bypassed Hindustan Aeronautics to favour the Anil Ambani-run Reliance Defence Limited as the Indian partner of the French manufacturer? Well, these are all some of several allegations raised by the Congress, to which the government and now the air chief have responded. Well, now our big focus: has the public exchequer faced what the Congress party says is an insurmountable loss in signing the deal to procure 36 fighter jets for the Indian Air Force? The war of words between the government and the Congress continued today, with even the air chief, someone who doesn't frequently speak to the media, saying there was no controversy, the deal was the best one India could get. Today, despite legal threats from Reliance Defence Limited, the Congress leader Rahul Gandhi reiterated his party's accusations of crony capitalism.
ये आप मोदी जी से राफेल डील जो है, इसके बारे में सवाल क्यों नहीं पूछ रहे? पूरी डील को बदल दिया। एक बिजनेसमैन की मदद करने के लिए डील बदल दी।
Now the government has dismissed the charges.
तो जब भी कांग्रेस ये सब चर्चा करती है, तो कांग्रेस अपने दिनों की याद कर जाती है और कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। अभी उनको ये बात स्वीकार करने में कठिनाई होती है कि नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार में 3 साल में कोई भ्रष्टाचार नहीं हुआ है।
Yesterday, Reliance Defence threatened to haul the Congress to court for its allegations. According to Reliance, government policy issued on the 24th of June 2016 allows for 49% FDI in the defence sector under the automatic route without any prior approval. No approvals from the Union Cabinet or the Cabinet Committee on Security were required. The deal also found support today from the air chief.
There is no controversy. I mean, what is the controversy? I can't understand.
Over the overprice.
No, it is not overpriced. I think we have, because it went government to government, the government has negotiated a very good deal.
Keeping the politics aside, has India gotten a bad deal? Well, in March last year, Qatar announced a deal for 24 Rafales for 6.7 billion euros. India's deal for 36 jets announced in September that year is cheaper, 7.8 billion euros for 36 fighters. The Congress says in 2012, Dassault had agreed to transfer technology to India so that Hindustan Aeronautics could manufacture more than 100 fighters in India. But the counter-argument is strong. The UPA never managed to close out the deal with France. Dassault refused to certify certain key components to be built by Hindustan Aeronautics. And there was no consensus on the per-unit cost of manufacture in India. According to the Congress, if the original deal went through, each fighter would cost $80.95 million. They say the cost of each aircraft now is coming to $241.6 million, which is an insurmountable loss. So what's the truth? Well, the original deal was negotiated at 2012 rates. The present deal has been negotiated at 2016 rates. The original deal was for 126 jets. The higher the numbers, the lower the price. Now it's a direct purchase from France. The old deal didn't include the cost of weapons and modifications. The aircraft being acquired come with state-of-the-art missiles and spare support for 7 years. The first jets arrive in 2019. Vishnu Shom for NDTV. So did India get a raw deal for the purchase of these jets, and why is this issue coming up now a couple of years, about a year or so after this entire deal was actually signed? Why is this happening now? What is new that has really emerged? Joining us, Pawan Khera from the Congress, Tuhin Sinha, the author and BJP ideologue, Commodore Uday Bhaskar, the director for the Society for Policy Studies, and Air Marshal P.S. Ahluwalia, the former Western Air Commander. I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us. Mr. Khera, let me come to you first. Why are you raising this issue now? Because the deal that the Congress party, has been speaking about was a deal that the UPA government was trying to negotiate. The deal was never closed. By the time this government came to power, that deal was effectively dead. The Indian Air Force needed planes. They went to the government went to France, and they got 36 aircraft. Why do you say that something unfair has been done when you couldn't close the deal yourselves?
Okay. Now you asked 2-3 questions, so give me time accordingly. Now, what is our fundamental objection? Our fundamental objection is that when we negotiated and the Dassault was L1, the price is the first objection. It was 54,000 crore at 2012 prices for 126 aircrafts with transfer of technology, Vishnu. Now, the Prime Minister goes to France in March 2014 without the Defence Minister, mind you, and goes and purchases 36 aircrafts, MMRCAs, off the shelf. Wait. The Defence Minister was busy inaugurating a fish stall in Goa. But who accompanies the Prime Minister? Mr. Anil Lambani. So this is a second objection.
But what is wrong with that? What's wrong with Mr. Ambani accompanying him?
Let me finish. HAL, now the original Make in India was brought by UPA, wherein HAL was to manufacture. Just 18 aircrafts were to come in flyaway conditions, and the rest were to be manufactured by HAL. Wasn't that Make in India?
But that never happened.
Dassault was not comfortable with HAL even when the UPA was negotiating it. I know why Dassault was not comfortable. Our suspicion is even then because they had inked another agreement for offsets with RIL. So they kept dilly-dallying, Dassault kept dilly-dallying. Suddenly the government changes, and wasn't Dassault aware of HAL's capacity?
So point
HAL
by
was
point,
capable.
point by point, Mr.
Suddenly
Khera,
Dassault finds HAL not comfortable.
Mr. Khera, point by point, let's look at the issues that you have raised. Now, the Congress party has said
I am also giving you point
that
by
the
point
price,
objections
So
that we have.
let's try to analyze these points point by point. Firstly, the price of the aircraft.
Sure.
Now, you have said that the per unit cost of each aircraft is $241.6 million, whereas it could have cost under $81 million per aircraft as per the deal which you were trying to negotiate but which you never were able to close out. However, the deal that you were trying to close out didn't include the following. You did not include state-of-the-art weapons like the Meteor weapon. You did not include the cost of spares and support for 7 years. You did not include the training of pilots in that particular cost. You did not include the price of upgradation of 2 airfields in that particular deal, or the provision of simulators. So, or most significantly, billions of dollars, more than $1 billion, which has likely been spent on modification of the aircraft for India-specific requirements. So, how can you compare apples with oranges?
No, the fundamental difference is the transfer of technology. Now, what happens tomorrow when we are incapable of getting that technology? Why aren't we getting the technology? So, the cost included the cost of technology. Now, for 526 crore for one aircraft under UPA, under Congress, and 1570.8 crore for one aircraft under Modi ji. Simple.
No,
without technology coming into India.
It's not that simple.
And it's not just this deal.
Mr. Khera, it's not that simple, and I will tell you why. The cost that you are mentioning is not perhaps the right cost per unit of the aircraft, because you are not accounting for the fact that there are many other things which have been negotiated. So that unit price is perhaps inaccurate. But let me go across to Tuhin Sinha. Tuhin, why do you believe that the unit cost of the aircraft is not what the Congress states?
That's the fundamental cost which you're not counting. I don't know why. Okay,
we'll come to technology transfer. Very valid point, and I think it's an important point. But Tuhin, go ahead.
Vishnu, I am definitely going to come to the specifics, but before that, let me tell you, it's absolutely amusing and paradoxical that the party and the family, which has had exclusive fiefdom over all defense camps from 1948, starting with the Jeep
scam, the rhetoric, please. Vishnu, ask him to cut the rhetoric, otherwise I have enough rhetoric to counter him with.
Please ask him to cut the rhetoric.
Ask him to cut the rhetoric, otherwise I'll come up with my rhetoric and he won't be able to handle it.
Mr. Khera,
please ask him to just keep quiet right now if rhetoric is all that he has.
All right. Please keep your mouth shut.
If he has just rhetoric, then I don't want to participate in a debate in which the BJP guy can come up with
specifics, please. Go ahead. Yes, specifics.
The cost of No, Mr. Khera, you're not supposed to speak in between. Now, coming to the cost of the 36 aircrafts.
Cut the
of
rhetoric.
the
I'll
Euro
speak in between if you just resort to rhetoric.
It
Who are you to
includes
guide me
Euro
and what-
1.8 billion for India-specific requirements, 2-year warranty with 5-year PBL, including all spares, 2 air bases, 2 simulators, ground support equipment, leased equipment. All these things are included in the cost. So please don't fudge facts. All these things were not included
This
in the
is the
cost
biggest
in
scam of the
deal
century.
which was being negotiated
You are not
previously.
even talking about the transfer
Insofar
of
as the
technology.
transfer of technology is concerned, that is also happening, if not exclusively.
Okay. I want to go across.
What do you mean happening? Where? Where in the agreement is transfer
All
of
right.
technology?
So let's
What
talk
rubbish?
about the transfer of technology, Mr. Khera, before I bring in my other experts onto this particular issue. Unlike
And please
other
also
government-to-government
understand-
deals which have
Please
taken place,
also understand.
this particular deal actually does include an offset of 30,000 crores. So a certain 50% of the value of the deal comes into Indian
That's
industry,
50%, that's it.
right?
That was in our
Now,
deal
there
also.
are other deals,
50%
Mr. Khera.
of the investment of the
There
sale
are
price
other
has to be reinvested in
government-to-government
India. That
deals
was
which
part
have been
of our deal
signed,
also.
which do not
There's
have
nothing new in this.
government-to-government, do not have an
Nothing new
offset
in
at
this,
all.
Vishnu. The 50% offset clause was there in our agreement also.
Yes, but there are in government-to-government deals, for example, the S-400 missile deal, for example, the
No, so let
M777
me
gun
also
deal,
tell you about
where
the
offsets have been
transfer of
waived.
technology.
Offsets have been waived. So my question to you, Mr. Khera, is in this case, at least you have offsets. You have offsets
Vishnu,
which
just
are
a
coming in
second.
that is likely to generate thousands of jobs. If this is the case, then what's wrong with it?
No, but even in that case, there were offsets. No, I am saying what's wrong with, there was the offset clause even then.
Okay.
HAL was going to get the manufacturing. You waived everything off to oblige one person
But why one
at
person?
the cost of so many crores to the exchequer.
But this
Vishnu,
is
let
the
me just
point I
put
don't
in a
understand.
correction over here.
Why not HAL?
Because
Now,
HAL was...
Tejas,
Yeah,
the
so-
Tejas manufactured
No,
by
they-
HAL. Middle East is planning to buy it. Middle East is keen to buy
As
it, but
per the
we don't
deal.
want to use
Okay.
Tejas.
So two
Why?
key
Because
points.
we want to oblige another Saab Gripen.
All right. 1 second, gentlemen. I want to bring in my other
I'll tell
panelists
you.
before I come back to you. We've got enough time. Air Marshal Ahluwalia, the point mentioned by Pawan Khera was of Hindustan Aeronautics. And the point that he is trying to mention is that, look, transfer of technology would have meant technology would have come to Hindustan Aeronautics. The technology which is now coming into India in the form of offsets isn't necessarily linked to Rafale components itself. They could be used for business jets and other things. So, is that a valid point that Mr. Khera mentions? That the technology which the NDA had wanted to, I beg your pardon, the UPA had wanted to come into India isn't coming in specific to military aircraft technology?
Well, Vishnu, let me just give me 30 seconds to start from the beginning. This whole MMRCA program started somewhere in 2000. I think by 2012 was the time that they identified who the L1 is. It was very proper to say at this time that the Dassault Rafale was the cheapest in terms of the technical qualification. They had all the technical qualifications, and they were cheaper in terms of the platform per se, the aircraft per se. However, it was taking too long. To kill the point about HAL, HAL was responsible for the price tag going very high. They were claiming that Dassault should take the guarantee for all the subcomponents and all the sub-vendors that they have, which Dassault, obviously rightly so, was not willing to accept. Secondly, what they did was they hiked up the cost in the sense that 2.7 times the man hours they wanted to use. This obviously went up very high. So these negotiations were carrying on. It was taking too late. The Air Force was in a hurry to induct as many as they could because of urgent operational necessity. As you can imagine now, that it's taken 36 months for the first aircraft to come somewhere in 2019 end, and it will come in by about another 60 months, 65, 66 months. So therefore, the Air Force is in an urgent hurry. And I think it was a good decision of the government at that time to at least get something. I agree with you that there was no transfer of technology, because in this route, government to government, at that time, a straight buy off the shelf did not envisage that. Although the first one, like Mr. Khera, I think the Congress representative is saying that yes, there was transfer of technology if we went in for 126. So therefore, I don't think it would be prudent or right to say that this was not a good deal. I think it was a brave move. At least we're getting 36 to start with. And I think it's very important for us not to get into the political realm over here and the blame game starts. Obviously, we have to be very careful who DASO selects as the partner.
I wanted to go across to Commodore Uday Bhaskar on that. When there is a political blame game that happens, is there a real danger that our defense preparedness gets hammered time and again? The Bofors deal, yes, there was a scandal, but the Bofors deal was instrumental in us winning the Kargil war. The HDW submarine deal, yes, there was a scandal. At the same time, it remains one of our finest submarines. The DASO deal, the Congress believes, is also a scam. However, the Air Force needs this aircraft. So is this an issue that India just can't overcome? And this isn't for a moment to suggest that corruption or middlemen is okay. Not at all. But how do we deal with this reality constantly when it comes to arming our forces?
Well, Vishnu, I think first of all I'd make the observation as a security analyst and someone who's been studying this for a very long time, that the current reality of Indian politics is that progressively over the last 3 decades, going back to the period when we had Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi and the what is called as the Bofors HTW scandal to where we are now, the way in which the major political parties have dealt with this whole procurement issue has had a very, very damaging effect on India's overall military capability. You just mentioned the Bofors. This is 85-86, and I distinctly remember Mr. VP Singh was then the Raksha Mantri. From then to now, the Indian ecosystem, where the politician has played a very major role, has resulted in a situation where India has neither been able to import the equivalent of a replacement, nor has it been able to build a gun in India. This is just the army. Look at the case of the Navy. The HTW scandal, as it was called then, led to a situation where the West German boats, the HTW, were very, very swiftly cancelled. I have always described this as an imprudent decision. And we lost 2.5 decades. Now we are picking up the thread again about building submarines in India. And you have just walked us through the whole fighter aircraft. 126 aircraft was mooted when Air Chief Marshal LaFontaine was the chief 30 years ago. And we are still talking about inducting small numbers
30 years
without
ago, this was
being
mooted,
able to take
and
the
in
appropriate long-term
decisions.
decisions. This is the
first
problem.
One has not entered.
So,
it's still,
if you ask me the way ahead,
yeah, I take your point,
if I
sir.
could
Carry on, Commodore, finish your point.
If I could just give one more last observation, I just want to say that the way ahead is that a democracy should definitely have a difference of views and opinion within the framework of Parliament.
Okay.
The reality is the Indian Parliament has not had a serious discussion on procurement.
Okay, so I just need to go across to my other panelists as well. I take the point that you're mentioning. We need to have this serious debate, but I want to go back. I need to go back to Tuhin Sinha. I need to go back to Pawan Khera. Mr. Khera, you know, when one looks at individual deals, the cost of the aircraft, one of the points that you mentioned is that the cost of the aircraft is prohibitively high. However, if you look at even other deals, for example, C-130 Hercules aircraft for the Indian Air Force, when the first deal was struck, because there were 2 deals for this, the total contracted price, I'm told, is $968 million. Of that, the aircraft cost was actually less than $450 million. So the question is, where did the rest of the money go? It actually went for training. It actually went for supplementary systems. It actually went for development of the air bases and ground facilities. How can you discount that? Because it seems to be a similar case in the Rafale deal.
No, you can't discount that, just as you cannot discount the transfer of technology. The issue here is Dassault's own manufacturing capacity. It has a huge order for internal use. It has another order for Qatar. Now, the deal for 126 signed by us had everything that we wanted. Right now, Dassault has walked away with everything that they wanted. They did not want to transfer the technology. They did not want to, whatever, the HAL's conditions were very tough and stringent, and why not? They were trying to protect our interests, but no, Dassault has walked away with that also. So our objection is on multiple counts. And as I said, it's not just this deal. I'm talking about F-16s, for example. Pakistan has the same F-16s. America has stopped using them.
We've not signed a deal with anybody for F-16s.
We are going back to F-16s because we want to oblige someone else.
That is your assumption. That deal has not happened.
Of course we are. Of course we are. Tatas have now come into F-16s.
Yeah, so the Adanis have come into the Gripen program, but the government hasn't decided either way.
Deals that are two are in the pipeline. No, you
let that deal happen. So that's another deal, and we can debate the merits of that.
Time. Instead, they should negotiate for a better aircraft, better deals. We can't waste time.
Okay, Tuhin, how will you respond to that? I think the key point that he was mentioning, no technology transfer has happened in this deal. That's what they were trying to negotiate. Do you have an answer for that?
No, first of all, I'm quite surprised. I'm quite surprised at the ignorance of the Congress. 30% of the offsets, it is specified in the deal that 30% of the offsets amounting to USD 2.7 billion is has to be by way of transfer of technology to DRDO. 20 critical technologies are being transferred to DRDO. So, I mean, I don't understand why...
It was 50% during the UPA deal. The UPA deal signed with 50% offset clause.
Of the
come on, you are absolutely ignorant to it. 50% was the UPA deal. Absolute ignorance, I'm sorry, Tuhin.
No, but please also understand that they were negotiating, they were negotiating basic Rafale aircraft. This technology, these particular aircrafts are even superior to what France possesses right now. This is customized technology specifically for India. This is customized technology specifically for India.
Yeah, but it was the same under UPA also. We were negotiating for the same aircraft.
But one final question. One final question to Mr. Khera.
Of USD
Mr. Khera, you keep talking about Hindustan Aeronautics. And
you haven't done your homework. I don't know what to talk to you about.
I'm just asking you, when the UPA was in power, Hindustan Aeronautics was unable to reach a consensus with Dassault for the transfer of technology. One of the reasons is that the cost and man hours required in India to manufacture a single unit was several times the amount required for it to be manufactured in France. And that is because manpower hours over here would be much more. And because we needed much more manpower, we needed to acquire new jigs, new tools, new assemblies. We needed to acquire a lot of other things. So the cost in India would have been much more. It would never have been that 54,000 crore rupees, which is exactly why the UPA was unable to close out the deal.
Let's do a calculation. Let's assume they had closed out the deal. Let's assume that HAL and Dassault had reached a figure. Tell me, what would that figure have been? Do you have a calculation for that?
No, because the negotiation never ended.
How can you just hide behind the thing that they could not? Why could they not complete the negotiation? Because there was another player there. Dassault had signed up with RIL. Dassault was deliberately going slow in negotiations with HAL, was deliberately being difficult with HAL. Now they've got what they wanted. They wanted to kick HAL out. They've succeeded in that. Prime Minister wanted to get his own favorite businessman in. He succeeded in that.
All right. Well, serious allegations by the Congress.
So is there a nationalistic corruption? Let me know. I'll keep quiet. If there is a label of nationalistic corruption because BJP has done it, I'll keep quiet.
One of the policies of the government of India for several years now is that private sector needs to be engaged. That being said, I'm completely out of time over here. The Congress continues with the allegations against the Reliance Industries, Defence Industries group over here. The Air Chief has come in support of the deal. one way or the other, the Air Force is acquiring these aircraft. I'd like to
Vishnu,
thank
just
all
a
of you.
second. You know,
Tuhin, I'm completely out of time on this show. I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us. I suspect we'll be back debating this in the future.